Hello Exiles. I am finally back for Path of Exile's 0.3 patch, the third Edict, and I couldn't be more excited to get started. In this video, we're going to go into detail the exact kind of things you should be doing throughout the first week of the league, all the way from the beach to the endgame, in order to send your character and your stash straight to the moon. So let's begin. First off, the obvious. I'm not considering this to be one of the tips in this video, but let's just get this out of the way so we can set the floor for everything else we're going to be talking about. You are going to want to get to the end game and start mapping as fast as you can. Now, how should you go about doing this? Well, that will lead us into our first few tips. So here we go. Tip number 1. In order to blast through the campaign as fast as possible, you need to focus on investing as much as you can into your character's damage. Investing into defense is not necessary until you get to the end game. The more damage you are dealing, the faster you will be zooming through the campaign zones and destroying bosses. This leads us to our next two tips. Tip number 2, invest in yourself.
3 words for you: treat yourself.
Spend whatever you need to spend early on buying gear from other players to keep your damage high so that you can continue to progress smoothly through the campaign. The amount of currency you will spend on these early game items is nothing compared to how much currency you will be making later on once you start mapping. So don't be afraid to chuck some exalted orbs at weapon upgrades, which for most builds will be the most important upgrades to increase their damage. Now for my third tip. If you aren't experienced or comfortable making your own build, then I highly recommend finding a build creator on YouTube that is trustworthy and will 100% be following up on their build throughout the league. The passive tree and support gems are getting a massive overhaul this league, so having a plan going into the league start will be more important than ever. That way you can spend less time in town and more time blasting the campaign so you can get to maps faster. Remember, when in doubt, invest into damage. I have 2 videos planned for sometime during the week before the league start. One is going to be my league start build guide for the Invoker Monk, and in the other one, I'm going to showcase somewhere between 5 to 10 different build ideas from different content creators I trust who create amazing builds. So if you're interested in either of those, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them. Now, tip number 4, convert everything you can, either at the currency exchange or the new trade merchant, into chaos orbs, and sit on chaos and divine orbs for as long as you can. Chaos orbs have the best crafting sync in the game and will retain their value almost infinitely, while everything else will be less and less valuable every day. Perfect chaos orbs are a new addition this league, and my guess would be that they will be one of, if not the most expensive currencies, so definitely keep your eyes out for those. Although you probably won't see one until late endgame, as they will likely be more rare than divine orbs. But if you do manage to find one, definitely hold on to it and don't convert it into anything right away. Another change being made this league is that you will be able to trade uncut skill, support, and spirit gems at the currency exchange. I highly recommend at least checking the exchange rates, as you will probably be able to at the very least exchange any extra spirit gems you have for some liquid currency. Obviously, use what you need to upgrade your character, but holding off on upgrades for as long as possible and keeping chaos and divine orbs in your stash will only increase their value over time. The main takeaway here is do not sit on exalted orbs, and literally anything in your stash that can be converted should be converted, at least throughout the first week of the league. Tip number 5. An additional way to make sure you are converting as much currency as you can early on is through salvaging. During the first week of the league, it'll be fairly lucrative to be salvaging items with quality ore sockets off of the ground that you're not going to use for yourself. They salvage down into armor scraps, blacksmith whetstones, and artificer orbs, which you will then trade for exalted orbs, which you will then convert into chaos or divine orbs. I wouldn't convert all of your armor scraps, whetstones, and artificer orbs. Maybe hold on to like 20 of them each, but do not hoard these during the first week. They will lose significant value over time, and if you need more later, you can just buy them back cheaper since they will be losing value daily. I'm not saying you're going to get rich from salvaging gear, but every little bit helps the first few days. Tip number 6. When it comes to crafting, especially throughout the campaign, I would highly recommend keeping it to a minimum. Only use currency that isn't going to realistically convert into exalted orbs, which you will stack up and trade for chaos and divine orbs. Since this league currency is getting changed to have tiers, you will probably safely be able to use tier 1 currencies to craft with, and possibly also the lowest tier of essences, but always check the currency exchange before doing so. I can't stress enough how important it is to convert everything you can into chaos or divines and sit on them for as long as possible. To upgrade your gear, you should really just be using rares you find on the ground, checking vendors in towns, and using the trade website. Now for tip number 7. Abyss is a new mechanic this league and will provide a new way of crafting items in the form of using ancient bones at the Well of Souls to add veiled modifiers to your items. It's unknown at the moment, but if these bones have a max item level that is determined by the zone you pick them up from, then you may want to just use them throughout the campaign as a viable way of crafting on your gear. However, if a bone you pick up can be used on a higher level item and still reward it with higher item level stats, then they will definitely be worth either holding on to for your endgame items or trading for currency that can be converted into chaos and divine orbs. Now for tip number 8. A new system that is being implemented this league is the merchant. We will be able to sell items to other players without even having to return to our hideout to do so. This means you can really sell as much as you want, and it won't slow down your campaign or endgame progression at all, since you won't have to return to make the trade with the other player. Therefore, even selling things for as low as 1 exalted orb will be extremely viable early game, because you'll be able to sell a ton of decent early game items you find that are not good for you but might be for someone else, and stack up some exalted orbs, which you will then exchange for chaos or divines. Now let's talk about a few tips for once you arrive at the end game. Once you get there, what should you do? This is normally when you will want to start looking at investing in some gear upgrades. However, if it's possible, you should stall on upgrades as long as you can and hoard as many chaos and divine orbs as possible. But if you need upgrades, then don't be afraid to spend on some so that you can continue to progress through the end game smoothly. You will normally want to start investing into your character's defenses now as well. When it comes to clearing out your atlas, you will want to focus on the corrupted Nexus quests first, using the highest tier waystones you can handle. Even if they are above your current quest, they will still count towards your quest completion. My second endgame tip: there are going to be some additional objectives this league in the form of possibly fighting pinnacle bosses earlier, since you get your first 2 atlas points for free, and then it will only take 50 splinters for your first attempt at an actual pinnacle boss fight, which will reward you with your next 2 atlas points. I would say if you are above the level of the pinnacle encounter and you are confident in your build, keep in mind you're going to have more than 1 portal for respawning, and you're not going to lose experience if you die. Then you should absolutely do it, because the faster you kill the pinnacle bosses, the more rewards you will get from completing the different league mechanics while working your way through your corrupted Nexus quests. And investing into your atlas tree is always worth it and will always result in much more currency than it costs to fight the bosses themselves if you are regularly interacting with the mechanics. My third endgame tip is that all of your initial atlas passives you get from completing the corrupted Nexus should get invested into these things. Waystone or tablet sustain is great, and so is pack size and increased magic or rare monsters. This way you can get as much experience out of each of your maps as you can and level up faster. You will be able to respec these later into whatever currency farming strategy you are interested in, but that won't happen until after you finish your corrupted Nexus quest. And if you have any extra waystones or tablets, sell them on the new merchant. Remember, you won't even have to come back to your hideout to trade them, so even selling them for 1 exalted orb will be super worth it early. And now for my final tip, which has nothing to do with actually playing the game itself, Even though it's going to be a rush to the end game and everyone is going to be sweating their asses off, blasting through the campaign, do not forget to stay healthy. Since last league, I have really made some big improvements to my lifestyle and cannot stress enough how it will improve everything in your life. Trust me, getting to tier 15 maps first is not worth compromising that. You will have much more fun playing this game and be able to focus for longer periods of time if you are eating healthy, staying hydrated, getting enough sleep, and exercising every day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up and liked the video. And if you agree, disagree, or have any other ideas for things to focus on throughout the first week of the league, please let me and everyone else know in the comments. I'm going to be creating a lot of content this week and streaming Monday through Friday, so definitely subscribe here on YouTube and follow me over on Twitch if you would like to come hang out this league. Thanks again for watching. Peace.